Luke wiped the sweat from his forehead as he leaned over the engine console. The outpost was quiet tonight, with only the hum of the machinery and the distant rumble of the moon's weak atmosphere outside. He had been fixing the power core for hours, and his back ached. But he didn't mind. Work kept his mind busy, and lately, he needed distraction more than anything. He glanced at the small view screen that showed the landing bay. Everything was calm. Ships had become rare visitors lately, and the quiet brought a strange peace. Luke had always preferred the quiet. Ever since the accident that had changed his life years ago, he remembered it clearly. The day he had found her. She had been a little girl then, barely taller than his waist, with skin that glowed blue even in the dim light. She had been trapped in the wreckage of her shuttle, terrified and alone. Most people would have left her to die, but something inside Luke had pushed him forward. He had pulled her out, ignoring the risks, and somehow kept her alive until help arrived. And then she had disappeared. He had thought of her often, wondering if she had survived, if she had grown up safe. He never expected to see her again. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The view screen flickered, showing a ship he did not recognize. It was sleek, smooth, and unlike any design Luke had seen before. It hovered over the outpost landing pad, lights flickering across its surface. His heart skipped a beat. Visitors were rare, and something about this ship made him uneasy. The ship landed without noise, its engines barely a whisper. Luke felt a chill. He went to the door and opened it carefully. She was standing there. The blue-skinned woman looked almost the same as the girl he had saved years ago, only taller and stronger. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the lights of the outpost. Her hair flowed down her shoulders like water. She did not smile. She did not bow or show gratitude. She simply looked at him, and he felt as if she could see every thought in his mind. "Luke," she said, her voice low but commanding. "You remember me." Luke nodded, words caught in his throat. He had never expected this moment, and he certainly had not expected the intensity in her gaze. "Riala," he said finally. He tried to keep his voice steady. You're alive." She stepped closer, her companions tall, armored figures visible behind her. She did not speak to them. Her eyes stayed on him. "I am more than alive," she said. "And I am not here to ask politely." Luke's stomach tightened. He did not understand, but he sensed danger. He tried to step back, but the outpost was small, and there was nowhere to hide. "I saved you," Luke said slowly. "Years ago. You were just a child. Why? Why are you here?" Riala's eyes narrowed. "Because you owe me. Because you belong to us." The words hit him like a shock. "Belong to you?" She looked at him, not with anger, but with certainty. "When you saved me, you made a promise you did not know existed. My people have rules, Luke. Life saved is life owed. You have no choice." Luke shook his head. He tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat again. He had always believed humans could choose their own paths. Now he realized that in some parts of the universe, a single act of kindness could bind a person in ways he had never imagined. "Wait," he said. "I didn't agree to anything like that. I just saved a child. That's all." Riala's companions shifted, the armor clinking softly. She raised her hand, and they froze. Her voice was calm, but the command was absolute. "You have no say. You are coming with me." Luke's mind raced. His outpost was small, and he had no weapons. He had repaired engines and fixed machines, but he was not trained for combat. Yet something inside him stirred. He would not go quietly. Not without understanding. "Why?" he asked again. "Why me? I'm just A mechanic. Riala's eyes softened for a fraction of a second. You are human. That makes you remarkable. You survive. You adapt. You endure. But my people need you. You cannot refuse. Luke swallowed hard. He had heard stories of humans being underestimated in the galaxy. They had been called fragile, weak, easy to control. Yet here he was, facing a culture that believed his very life was bound to theirs. I don't know your rules, he said. But I know mine. I won't go if it means leaving people behind. No. Riala tilted her head, studying him as if measuring his soul. Then she smiled faintly. It was not a friendly smile. It was a smile that said she had already anticipated his words, and she was not surprised. You misunderstand me, Luke, she said. You are already bound. Whether you like it or not, your choice has been made. Luke felt a cold weight settle in his chest. The years of peace, the quiet nights fixing engines, the small victories of life, it all seemed to vanish in an instant. He was no longer alone. Sombertus. He was part of a story larger than himself, and the universe had just reminded him how small his freedom could be. You don't get to tell me what to do, he said finally, his voice firmer than he felt. I saved you once, yes. But that was then. I'm not a child. I make my own choices. Riala's gaze sharpened. You misunderstand the meaning of choice in my world. We are not cruel. We honor bonds. You saved me. You belong to that bond. He took a step back. The companions behind her moved slightly, and Luke realized that any sudden movement could be dangerous. He needed to think, to find a way to survive, until he understood what was happening. Then teach me, he said cautiously. Teach me your rules. If I am part of your bond, I need to know what it means. But I won't be taken without reason. Riala's lips curved into a thin smile. Very well. You will understand soon enough. Come with me. You have no choice in the matter, but I will give you time to learn. Luke glanced at the outpost behind him. It had been his home, his sanctuary. Now it felt small, fragile, and unimportant. He looked back at Riala. Her presence was commanding, almost overwhelming. Yet he could not help feeling a strange connection to her. Something beyond fear. Something beyond duty. He took a deep breath. Then we go. But I go on my terms. As much as I can. Riala nodded. You may try. But remember, Luke, the universe has ways of reminding us what is owed. He followed her onto the ship. The air inside smelled faintly of ozone and metal. The cabin was sleek, far different from anything human-made. Lights glowed softly along the walls, and the floor seemed to hum with energy. Luke's hands itched to touch the controls, to figure out how everything worked. It was human instinct. Riala noticed and did not comment. She only watched him, her eyes reflecting the soft lights of the cabin. Where are we going? Luke asked, trying to keep his voice calm. To my homeworld, she said simply. There, you will learn what it means to be bound by a life saved. Luke swallowed hard. He had no idea what awaited him, but he knew one thing. He had saved a life once. And now that life had returned, powerful, determined, and no longer asking politely, the engines hummed to life, lifting the ship from the outpost. Luke watched the barren moon fade beneath him. He felt a mix of fear, curiosity, and a strange hope. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing. He could not run. Not now. Riala stood beside him, silent, but Luke could feel her presence like a tide pulling him forward. The blue-skinned girl he had saved years ago had returned, and the universe had just made it very clear this was no longer a simple act of kindness. This was the beginning of something far greater, far more dangerous, and far more remarkable. Luke took a deep breath, feeling the hum of the ship beneath his feet. He did not know what the future held, He only knew that he had faced impossible odds before, and he would face them again. Not because anyone demanded it, but because he was human. And humans, he thought, had a way of surviving. The ship moved through space smoothly, like a knife cutting through darkness. Luke stayed near the view screen, staring at the stars, trying to understand where he was going. The outpost, the barren moon, even the small villages of humans he had known, all of that seemed small and distant now. He was on a ship that felt alive, moving toward a place he did not understand, with a person he barely recognized. Riala stood nearby, calm and poised. Her companions stayed at the back of the cabin, silent and watchful. Luke could feel their eyes on him. He tried not to think about what might happen if he made a wrong move. But he also tried to study the ship. Humans had a way of learning fast, and he had always been good with machines. "This ship, it's incredible," Luke said cautiously. "I've never seen anything like it." Riala glanced at him. "It is designed for my people. Speed, defense, and endurance. It will keep us safe as we travel." Luke nodded, though safety was a word that felt strange now. Safe or not, he was being taken far from everything he knew. He felt a knot of worry in his stomach, but he refused to let it show. Humans had learned long ago that fear could be used against them. "Where exactly are we going?" he asked again. "To my homeworld," Riala replied simply. "There. Your place will be decided. The council will see your life debt as I see it. You will understand then." Luke ran a hand through his hair. "Life debt? I still don't understand. I saved you when you were a child. I thought that was enough. Why does it matter now?" Riala looked out the window at the stars streaking past. "It matters because you saved me. In my people's eyes, saving a life is never just an act of kindness. It binds you. It binds you to destiny. To me." Luke's heart sank. He had always believed that kindness should be free, not a chain. Yet here, in the middle of space, he realized the universe did not always agree with him. Some cultures saw acts of help as obligations, laws that were stronger than any human rule. He thought about the little girl he had saved. She had smiled, and for a moment, the world seemed lighter. Now she was grown. She had power, confidence, and authority, and she expected him to follow. "Luke," Riala said softly, turning to face him. "Do not misunderstand me. I do not wish to hurt you. I do not wish to force you beyond reason. But you cannot refuse. You are bound." Luke clenched his fists. "I don't belong to anyone. I'm human. We choose our paths. We survive. We adapt. We fight. That's how we live. I'm not some prize or servant." Riala's eyes narrowed slightly, but she did not argue. Instead, she studied him as if weighing his words against her own truths. "You are human," she said after a pause, "and that makes you remarkable. I have watched humans from afar. You endure when others fail. You rise when others fall. Perhaps that is why I seek you now." Luke stared at her. For a moment, he saw the little girl he had saved, the trust in her eyes, the fear, the small smile, and he realized that somewhere inside her, that child still existed, shaped by years of survival and culture. The ship hummed softly as it moved. Luke walked to a small panel and examined it. He did not touch it, but he studied the layout. He wanted to know what he was up against, even if he could not stop it. Humans were clever, and he would need that cleverness soon. "Tell me about your people," he said finally. "I need to understand what I'm walking into." Riala nodded slowly. "My people are bound by tradition. Every act of life has meaning. Every action carries a debt. Saving a life is not a gift. It is a bond. You cannot walk away from it, even if you wish to." Luke shook his head. "It sounds harsh." I thought kindness was free. In some worlds, Riala said. Yes, but not mine. We do not act without consequence. You saved me, and now, the consequence is you. Luke tried to process that. He had never thought that saving someone could have such weight. On Earth, humans saved each other every day, without thinking of bonds or debts. But here, the rules were different. He had to adapt, or he would be crushed. The days passed quietly on the ship. Luke learned to navigate the halls, to observe the crew, and to understand the patterns of life on board. He noticed Riala's discipline, her focus, and the respect others gave her without question. She moved like she belonged to the stars, confident and unyielding. One night, Luke woke to a low hum from the ship's engines. He found Riala sitting near a window, looking out at the vast darkness of space. Her skin glowed softly under the cabin lights. You cannot sleep, she said without turning. I'm trying, Luke replied. It's not easy. Everything is so... Riala turned to him, her eyes reflecting the stars. It is not a dream, Luke. It is reality. You saved me, and now you must live within that reality. Soon, you will see the weight of what you owe, and perhaps you will understand why I brought you here. Luke sat beside her, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. I still don't understand why you came back. Why? Find me. Now. I could not leave it undone, Riala said. I have searched for years, through worlds and wars, through dangers that would have ended others. I found you because the bond cannot be broken. You saved my life. I cannot live without ensuring the balance is met. Luke felt a shiver. The little girl he had saved was no longer a child. She was a force of her own. And somehow, he had become a part of that force, whether he wanted it or not. The next day, the ship approached a planet unlike any Luke had ever seen. Towering crystal structures rose from the oceans, glimmering in sunlight that seemed to reflect every color of the spectrum. Islands floated in the sky, tethered by energy beams. It was beautiful, alien, and frightening, all at once. That is my homeworld, Riala said simply. You will see your place there. Luke stared, speechless. The scale of the place was beyond anything human technology had achieved. He realized that he had entered a world where humans were not the center, not the masters, but perhaps something else entirely. When they landed, Riala's companions escorted them through the city. Luke noticed the attention he received. Some stared, some whispered. He realized that being human made him stand out. His height, his simple appearance, and his calm determination marked him as unusual. They entered a grand hall where a council waited. Luke could feel the weight of history in the air. The beings there were like Riala, but older, wiser, and even more imposing. He swallowed hard. This is Luke, Riala said. He saved me long ago. He is bound by the life he restored. I bring him to you. The council members observed him silently. One stepped forward. A tall figure with eyes that seemed to pierce through him. Human, it said. You claim to be free. Yet you are here. Explain yourself. Luke took a deep breath. I saved her because she was a child. I didn't expect anything in return. I didn't know your rules. I'm just a human. I survive. I adapt. I fight. That's all I've ever done. The council murmured. Riala stood beside him, calm and unyielding. Luke felt a flicker of gratitude. Despite the strange laws, she had not lied to him. She had found him. Yes, but she had also protected him from immediate harm. You are remarkable, the tall figure said finally. Humans endure where others fail. Perhaps that is why the bond exists. But bonds are laws here, not choices. You will learn our ways. You will honor the life you restored. Luke felt a mixture of fear and determination. He had never been part of such a world. Yet he also realized that he could not back down. He had survived impossible situations before. He would survive this. And somewhere inside, he felt a spark of hope. Perhaps humans were not just fragile creatures in a vast galaxy. Perhaps their stubbornness, their ability to endure, and their will to choose could change even the oldest laws of alien worlds. He looked at Riala. She met his gaze, her expression unreadable. For a moment, he saw the little girl he had saved, and he knew that she had grown into someone extraordinary. And somehow, they were bound together, not just by law or culture, but by trust, memory, and the strange weight of life itself. Luke realized then that his journey was only beginning. The outpost, the barren moon, the quiet life he had known, they were gone. Ahead lay a world of power, tradition, and danger. Yet he was not afraid. Not completely. Humans had a way of surviving, even in the darkest stars, and he intended to prove it. Luke followed Riala through the crystal hallways of her homeworld. Every step felt strange. The floors glimmered with light that seemed alive, moving beneath their feet. Towers rose high above them, stretching toward skies he had never seen. Floating platforms drifted between buildings, carrying people of all shapes and colors. It was beautiful, and it made him feel small. Riala's companions stayed near them, their eyes scanning every corner. Luke noticed their weapons, smooth and sharp, but he kept calm. He had faced danger before, and he would face it again. Humans survived. That was what they did. "Where are we going?" Luke asked cautiously. "To the council chamber," Riala said. "There you will see the true meaning of your debt." Luke nodded slowly. He had no choice, and he understood that. But he wanted to know. He wanted to learn, because survival depended on understanding. As they walked, people stared. Luke felt the weight of their eyes, but he held his head high. Humans had learned to meet strange gazes with confidence. It made them strong, even when they were outnumbered or outmatched. They entered a large hall. The ceiling was impossibly high, and light reflected off the crystal walls, scattering colors everywhere. The council sat in a circle, each member with a presence that made Luke want to bow. But he did not. He was human. Humans faced the impossible, and he would not shrink now. Riala stepped forward. "This is Luke," she said. "He saved me many years ago. He is bound by that act of life, and now he comes before you to honor it." The council members studied Luke carefully. One spoke, her voice calm and clear. "Human, you claim to be free, yet you are here. Explain why we should not see you as a trespasser, or worse, a threat." Luke took a deep breath. He felt the hum of the place, the weight of tradition pressing down on him. "I saved a life. I did what I thought was right. I did not expect anything in return. I am just a human. I survive. I fight. I adapt. That is all I have ever done." A silence followed. The council exchanged glances. Luke realized that his words, simple as they were, carried meaning. Humans were not weak. They were clever, stubborn, and able to endure. Riala watched him. Her expression was unreadable. Luke felt a strange mix of fear and reassurance. She had brought him here. Yes, but she had not betrayed him. She had kept him safe until now. One council member stood. He was taller than the others, with blue skin that shimmered like water. "You are remarkable, human. You endure where others fail. Perhaps that is why your life is bound to hers. But bonds are not understood easily. You will undergo the life oath ritual. You will learn what it means to belong." 1940, 2. Luke frowned. "Life oath ritual? What is that?" Riala stepped closer. It is a ceremony to honor the bond between Savior and saved. It is not cruel, but it is binding. Once completed, your place is known, and the bond is recognized by all. Luke's stomach tightened. He had no idea what the ritual involved, but he knew one thing. He would not break under pressure. Humans had a way of surviving against impossible odds. He would face whatever this ritual required. "You do not understand our ways yet," another council member said. "The ritual is not just words. It is a test. It measures courage, endurance, and the will to honor life. It will reveal whether the bond is true." Luke nodded slowly. He had faced storms, wars, and accidents before. He could face this too. Humans adapted. Humans endured. That was their strength. The council motioned for him to follow. Luke glanced at Riala. She gave him a small nod, her eyes showing a hint of concern. He returned the nod. He did not know what awaited him, but he was ready to face it. They walked through the hallways to a large chamber. The walls were made of crystal, and the floor seemed to glow beneath their feet. In the center was a platform, and above it floated a ring of light. Luke could feel energy in the air, a hum that vibrated in his chest. "You will step onto the platform," a council member said. "The ritual will begin. You must show courage. You must show strength. You must show the human will to endure." Luke stepped forward carefully. The light in the platform grew brighter as he moved onto it. He felt it hum under his feet, responding to his presence. He could feel power in the room, and he did not flinch. Riala stood beside him, calm and steady. "Remember, Luke," she said softly, "this is not cruelty. It is honor. It is your chance to show who you are." Luke nodded. He closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. Humans face challenges every day. They fought against nature, against enemies, and against impossible odds. This was different, but the principle was the same. He would endure. The platform's light shifted, forming shapes around him. He saw images of the past, his past, Riala's past, the moment he saved her life. The memories were vivid, almost alive. Luke felt the weight of the years, of the promises, and of the bond that now tied him to her. "You must face the trial of courage," a council member intoned. "Show that you can endure fear, danger, and choice. Only then will the bond be honored." Suddenly, the chamber shifted. The floor became uneven, glowing pathways appearing like rivers of light. Shapes moved along the paths, threatening and strange. Luke realized these were illusions, tests of his mind and body. He stepped forward carefully, placing one foot in front of the other. The shapes lunged at him, and he dodged instinctively. Humans had reflexes honed by life on harsh worlds. He moved with speed and precision, aware of every detail. Riala watched silently. Her expression was unreadable, but Luke could feel her focus. She trusted him to face this, and that trust gave him strength. The trial grew harder. The shapes became faster, more aggressive. Luke felt his muscles burn, his heart race, but he did not stop. Humans endured when others fell. That thought kept him moving. One shape lunged at him directly. Luke sidestepped and grabbed a glowing crystal, using it as leverage. The light flared, and the shape vanished. He realized he could use his mind as well as his body. Strategy was as important as strength. The trial continued, testing his endurance, courage, and cleverness. Luke faced fear, pain, and illusions of loss. Every time he faltered, he reminded himself, humans survive. Humans adapt. Humans endure. Hours seemed to pass, though time felt strange in the chamber. Luke's body ached, but his determination never wavered. He learned the patterns, anticipated the illusions, and moved with confidence. Finally, the chamber fell silent. The shapes disappeared. The light softened, and the energy of the platform calmed. Luke stood, breathing heavily, but alive. He had faced the trial and endured. The council observed him quietly. One member stepped forward. "You have shown courage, human. You have shown endurance. You have honored the bond. The ritual is complete." Luke exhaled. Relief washed over him, but he did not relax completely. He had survived the trial, but he knew the journey was far from over. Riala stepped beside him. "You did well," she said softly. "The bond is recognized. You are now part of my world, whether you accept it or not." Luke looked at her, understanding her words. He was part of something greater than himself, but he had survived. He had proven that humans could endure alien tests, could survive trials designed for other beings. He realized something important. Humans were not weak. They were adaptable, clever, and able to face challenges no one expected them to survive. And now, he had shown that even here, in the heart of a powerful alien culture, humans could endure. The council members nodded among themselves. Luke could feel respect in their gaze, even if they did not fully understand him. He had proven something vital. Humans were not just fragile creatures of a small world. They were strong, clever, and resilient. Riala turned to him, her eyes softer now. "You are remarkable, Luke. Not just because of the trial, but because of who you are. I see now why you survived. Humans have a way of surviving even the impossible." Luke nodded. "I don't know what comes next, but I'll face it. Humans survive. We always do." For the first time since he had stepped onto her ship, he felt a spark of hope. He was bound by the life he had saved, yes, but he was not powerless. He had endured, adapted, and proven himself. And perhaps that was the most human thing of all. Riala watched him, a faint smile touching her lips. She had brought him here, yes, but she had also seen something remarkable in him, something beyond culture, beyond law, something she could trust. Luke realized then that his journey was far from over, but he had taken the first step. He had faced a trial that would have defeated others, and he had survived. Humans had a way of doing that, surviving when others could not. And now, he would face the next challenge. Not as a passive participant, but as a human who had proven he could endure, adapt, and fight. The chamber quieted, and Luke knew that this was only the beginning. Beyond these walls, beyond the council, lay a world of power, danger, and choices. But he was ready. Humans had a way of surviving, and he would prove it again and again.